1958, the United States Congress banned a weapon, not because of what it did, because of how it sounded when it opened. Ladies and gentlemen, Gage is still on vacation. He has sent word from a Sheets in West Virginia, where he reports that the touchscreen sandwich ordering system is, quote, the most efficient quartermaster operation he has encountered in the civilian sector. He has ordered 4 times. My name is Silas Garange. Tonight, the Switchblade, the weapon that was banned because of movies. The Stiletto, 15th century Italy. It descends from the Misericord, the mercy dagger, a long, narrow blade designed to deliver the coup de grace to a fallen knight. You slid it through the gaps in armor, through the visor slit to the brain, under the arm, between the plates, to the heart. The blade had a triangular cross-section, no sharpened edges. It was not made for cutting. It was made for finding the space between the things that were supposed to protect you. In 1478, the Pazzi family attempted to seize Florence by murdering Lorenzo de' Medici and his brother Giuliano during Mass inside the cathedral. Giuliano was stabbed 19 times. Lorenzo took a single wound to the shoulder and fought his way to a sacristy. The stiletto was the weapon of political assassination in Italy for 400 years. 3 towns made the blades: Maniago in the north, Frosinone in the mountains, Scarperia in Tuscany. The cutlery towns. Families passed the craft from father to son for centuries. In Italian tradition, every man carried a knife. Giving one to a boy meant he had become a man. In the 1740s, a Quaker clockmaker in Sheffield named Benjamin Huntsman invented crucible steel, and with it, the tempered spring. By the late 1700s, someone in Italy put a spring inside a folding knife. Press a button. The blade appears. The switchblade was born. Here is what most people do not know. Switchblades were not exotic. In 1892, a New York toolmaker named George Schrade patented the first practical American automatic knife. By 1906, his Presto series was being sold through Sears and Montgomery Ward, marketed to farmers, ranchers, hunters, and tradesmen. Operated with one hand, the Switchblade was an American pocketknife for 60 years before anyone decided it was dangerous. The Italian Campaign, 1943 to 45. When the Allies liberated southern Italy, American soldiers found the cuttle-setting towns. They bought stiletto-patterned switchblades from local craftsmen, long, slender, dramatic blades with S-shaped guards, nothing like the utilitarian Presto back home. These were beautiful, and they fit in a duffel bag. The soldiers brought them home. The importers followed. By the late 40s, Italian switchblades were being shipped to America alongside lace and cheese and wine. And then something happened that had nothing to do with knives and everything to do with fear. November 1950, a magazine called The Woman's Home Companion published an article titled, "The Toy That Kills." The author was Jack Harrison Pollock, a freelance writer, a former Senate aide, and a ghostwriter for President Truman. He wrote, "Designed for violence, deadly as a revolver, that's the switchblade. The toy youngsters all over the country are taking up as a fad." The article was filled with unsourced anecdotes, detailed accounts of stabbings with no names, no dates, no citations. Researchers who examined his claims later found them impossible to verify. Several were almost certainly invented. But the article went into millions of American homes, homes run by mothers, and the mothers called their congressmen. Then Hollywood did the rest. Blackboard Jungle, 1955. A student pulls a switchblade on his teacher. The British Board of Film Classification cut 6 minutes from the film. Screenings provoked riots. Teddy boys in South London tore up theater seats. Rebel Without a Cause, 1955. James Dean carried a 13-inch Black Beauty picklock switchblade. The knife fight scene was choreographed by Frank Mazzola, an actor who had actually been in a Hollywood street gang. Dean and his co-star wore chainmail vests under their t-shirts. Dean was cut on the ear during filming and got angry that they stopped the scene. 12 Angry Men, 1957. The entire case turns on a switchblade. A boy is accused of murdering his father with one. Henry Fonda reaches into his pocket, pulls out an identical switchblade, and sticks it into the table beside the evidence knife. The room goes silent. That is the moment the case cracks. A spring-loaded knife, bought for $6 in a pawn shop, destroys the certainty of 11 men. West Side Story opened on Broadway in 1957. The Rumble, the Jets and the Sharks. Riff and Bernardo draw Switchblades. The Switchblade is in the hands of Puerto Rican gang members and working-class Italian kids from the wrong side of the highway. It is never in the hands of a businessman. It is never in the hands of a father in the suburbs. The blade belongs to the street. West Side Story opened 1 year before Congress passed the ban. The Senate Subcommittee on Juvenile Delinquency held hearings. Senator Kefauver displayed piles of confiscated bayonets, trench knives, and daggers, and described them all to the press as switchblade knives. The covers that drove legislation included, and this is from the congressional record, not only magazine articles, but also highly popular films of the mid to late 1950s, including Rebel Without a Cause, Crime in the Streets, 12 Angry Men, and the 1957 Broadway musical West Side Story. They cited the movies as evidence. In Congress, Representative Sidney Yates of Illinois testified about vicious fantasies of omnipotence and barbaric and sadistic atrocities. Senator Payne of Maine asked a witness whether switchblades were, quote, developed by the so-called scum, if you want to call it, or the group who are always involved in crime. The witness agreed enthusiastically. Boo! There was one man in the entire country who bothered to count. Police Chief W.E. Parker of Kansas City, Missouri, a career cop, not a political appointee. For the entire year of 1956, in a city of nearly 500,000 people, Parker reported 15 switchblades used in assaults, 6 cuttings, 1 every 2 months, 15 incidents in a year in a city of 500,000. Congress was not interested in his numbers. They had James Dean. On August 12, 1958, Congress passed the Federal Switchblade Act. It banned the introduction of switchblades into interstate commerce. Penalty, $2,000 and 5 years in prison. The Department of Justice had opposed it. The Department of Commerce had opposed it. The Bureau of the Budget had opposed it. And here is the part that should make you sit up. Most of the bill's own sponsors admitted the measure was largely symbolic. They knew it would not reduce crime. They said so. They voted for it anyway, because, as one analysis put it, let me tell you what a switchblade actually is. It is a folding knife with a spring. That is the entire difference between it and any other folding knife. Press a button. The spring deploys the blade. A fixed blade hunting knife is objectively more dangerous. A kitchen knife kills more people. A switchblade was functionally banned in the United States because of a single mechanical sound, a spring releasing, a blade locking, and because that sound was heard in a movie theater by people who associated it with the wrong kind of person holding the wrong kind of weapon in the wrong kind of neighborhood. The switchblade was sold by Sears for 60 years. It was marketed to farmers. It was carried by American soldiers. And then a political ghostwriter wrote an article full of invented anecdotes, and James Dean flicked open a Black Beauty in CinemaScope, and Senator Payne asked if the people who made them were scum, and Congress banned a spring. The click. That is what did it. One mechanical sound, the most feared noise in American domestic life for a decade. Not because it was dangerous, because it was dramatic. This has been Silas Garange on Gage's Frequency. Good night.